Not discussing ballistic missiles is a big, big problem.
So in addition to uranium enrichment being discussed, the U.S. is demanding that Iran give up ballistic weapons as well.
Jana Raff reporting from Amman, Jordan. Services will be held across the country starting today in Chicago for the late civil rights leader, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Memorial events are also scheduled in Washington, D.C. and South Carolina. The two-time presidential candidate died last week at the age of 84. From Washington, this is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive, with small business insurance for protecting a variety of business types with multiple coverage options, designed to fit business owners' needs. More about small business insurance is at progressivecommercial.com.
You're listening to WUSF 89.7. I'm Craig Kopp. The Pinellas County School Board voted to close, merge, or expand 5 schools. As WUSF's Ricardo Cuomo explains, it comes down to enrollment and cost.
District leaders say the decision addresses the declining student population. They say some of the affected schools aren't even half full anymore, and that the changes could save the district almost $15 million in operating and maintenance costs. Superintendent Kevin Hendrick tells board members he's heard from community members who aren't happy, but says the decision is financially necessary.
It is my responsibility, though, and obligation to provide our families with excellent academic choices and programs while maintaining a balanced budget.
Affected students will be transferred to other schools within the district. The approved closures and consolidations will take effect at the end of the school year. Ricardo Cuomo, WUSF 89.7 News.
About 300 people gathered at USF Sarasota Manatee on Wednesday to oppose giving that campus to New College of Florida. Some were from local hospitals that hire nurses from USF. Others were business owners who praised the pipeline of students they've hired from the campus. Lauren Karg is a student at USF Sarasota Manatee.
I feel this meeting was really great because it kind of helps shed light on the issue and, how many people this takeover would actually affect.
Lisa Carlton is a former state senator and serves on the campus board. She advised people to call their legislators
and let them know how important this campus is to students, the community, the business community, families, future students.
The proposal passed the House last week. The Senate takes it up on Monday. A fire that started Sunday in the Florida Everglades has reduced visibility and triggered temporary closures of lanes on I-75, also known as Alligator Alley. National Weather Service is warning tonight smoke will settle on the ground and mix with fog. That's going to make driving very difficult. I'm Craig Kopp, WUSF 89.7 News.
Want to be in the know, but you don't have a ton of time, especially in the morning? Well, the Bay Blend podcast from WUSF gives you the latest news and events in the Tampa Bay area in just a few minutes. It's fun, it's quick, and it's all about your community. Check out the Bay Blend weekday mornings wherever you get your podcasts at.
Baycare is here for your life's big moments and everyday care. With 16 award-winning hospitals and hundreds of locations, the region's largest academic health system is always close to home. Find a Baycare location near you at baycare.org/everywhere.
This is Florida Matters, live and local, sponsored by Badawi Law. We're broadcasting from the doctors Lorraine Rufus and Neil Frankel studio at WUSF in Tampa. I'm Matthew Petty. Pepto-Bismol pink buildings cropped up in downtown St. Petersburg this month. Maybe you've seen them in real life or online. Around Valentine's Day, 4 vacant apartment buildings on the corner of 4th Street South and 4th Avenue South were painted 2 shades of pink. Artists will create murals on the buildings until they're torn down within the next couple of months to make way for a 29-story tower of condominiums. The developers say the project, painting these buildings pink and the subsequent murals to come, pays homage to St. Pete's arts community. Well-known muralists in St. Petersburg, the Vitali brothers, Derek Donnelly and others, were tapped for the task. They say the murals are the heartbeat of the city's arts scene, and they see this as a chance to show residents they'll be here for every evolution of the home they love. But there have been some other sentiments in the mix too. Artists and neighbours have been having discussions about development, change, gentrification, and the role that artists play in all of it. Now, if you've seen these pink buildings, share your thoughts. Maybe you love the buildings, maybe you're a little bit turned off by them. Give us a call, 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also send us an email. We're at FloridaMatters at WUSF.org. Well, joining us now is artist Leon Bador, aka Tess1. He's been sharing his perspective on the project. Leon, thank you so much for being with us.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And we're also joined by Derek Donnelly, one of the muralists who painted the buildings pink. Derek, we've spoken to you on the show before, so welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me back. Yeah.
And I want to start with a question for both of you. Do you remember driving or walking by the buildings before they were painted? So, Derek, what do you remember about these buildings before you were involved in this project?
There's a lot of, these 100-year-old structures in St. Pete, and a lot of them very beautiful, beautiful architecture. Yeah, I definitely remember those buildings, along with like the historic YMCA. It's very, very cool architecture. And I definitely remember them prior to, actually this project. But
yeah, I think the oldest of the buildings was built in 1916. Leon, what about you? What do you remember about these before they were painted this shade of pink?
Yeah, I remember seeing them as well, and seeing them sitting there vacant wasn't a great sight. It's a shame that they weren't, there wasn't a chance to repurpose them or do something with them. But yeah, this is unfortunately something that's quite common in the city. When new development comes in, they need to find a place to put their buildings, and this happens to be the newest spot. But that's just part of a growing city.
Derek, how did you come to be involved in the project?
I was, recruited by John Vitale, who, led the artists with this endeavor. And yeah, John asked me and a handful of other, notable Tampa Bay muralists, and yeah, we were all enthusiastic to be part of it. It's a real special feeling to go out there, all the camaraderie amongst the local muralists and artists, and the community coming out. So it was a great experience for all of us.
Why pink? Like, that's a pretty striking shade to paint them. Is it just the Valentine's Day tie-in, or was there some other reason for it?
I believe, I don't know, someone might correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe that this has been done in other cities. I don't know about locally or regionally, but I believe I heard that it was done in other places before they, raise the site. They, paint them pink, and I think it's somewhat of a movement. Again, different perspectives on that, but I think it was inspired by something that they had maybe seen in another city.
Mm-hmm. And how much paint did it take to paint them? Do you know?
I didn't participate in the priming. All that heavy lifting was done by Vitale's crew, and those folks before the rest of the artists got on site.
Yeah. Okay, so we also heard from the St. Petersburg Arts Alliance. Now, they sent us the statement, quote, "The St. Petersburg Arts Alliance promotes and advocates for artists and arts organization. In this case, our role was that of a connector. We were approached for a referral and introduced a local artist to a potential opportunity. Supporting artists in finding work, whether through public programs or private commissions, is core to building a healthy creative economy in St. Petersburg, and we remain committed to that mission," end quote. So, Leon, I believe you've said the Arts Alliance maybe should have had the foresight not to get involved. Could you kind of expand a little bit on that?
Sure. And yeah, just to give you a little background on my point of view and perspective on this is that, so I happen to be in the unique position of recalling a time with the St. Pete Arts Alliance that treated matters like this differently. And now it was a different group of people. But what is obvious here in this particular case, and this, by the way, I want to also state clearly that what I am criticizing is not the artists involved and what they did. That's not the level that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I am talking about the level of the Arts Alliance not having the foresight to see that, oh, maybe this is a bad idea. Maybe the optics of sending our artists to paint buildings that resonate with people, that are historic, that people don't want to watch our city get erased, by decorating that, calling it an art project, but what it's actually being is a marketing campaign for the new real estate development. That I feel is disingenuous, it's reckless, and that's the piece of this that sticks out to me. Again, based on my position, having worked with the Arts Alliance in the past, with Shine.
Mm.
It's a very different situation here, and I believe that they should have more accountability than just saying, "Oh, we passed this on," without any concern, any caution here. That's the part that's standing out to me, and I would hope that they would talk a little bit more about that part of it.
Yeah, and that invitation to the Arts Alliance does stand if they'd like to join us on the program to discuss. Now, we also reached out to Valor Real Estate Development, who initiated the Pink Building project, and they're, of course, behind the condo tower that's going to go up there too. The Tampa Bay Times, by the way, described it as a marketing campaign. The company did write back. They referred us to the artists who led the painting project. So, Derek, I wonder what you think about, what we're hearing from Leon here about the notion of, maybe artists being kind of brought into a project that some might perceive as erasing parts of the city or gentrification, if we can use that word. What's your perspective on that?
Well, as Leon has alluded to, that there's a lot of backstory, a lot of history here, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but the Shine Mural Festival, I believe, started in 2014. From my perspective, and many other of the artists involved, and a lot of citizens too, I don't know that we see a huge difference between, this development, supporting artists on the front end of demolition and development versus the back end, which the Shine Mural Festival, has done. We all have done. We're working artists, Leon and myself, Vitaly's. We work for the people that want to pay us to beautify things. So I'm not sure if the argument is it the Scientology aspect of it? Is it the fact that Leon has said, it's more about, celebrating the demise of, and I can understand someone having that perspective. But man, we're just artists, and we just, want to do what we do, make the community happy, work alongside our friends. And I think it's silly to, call this the first of these types of things. We might not have seen it in this light before, like I said, with the initiative being on the front end before demolition.
Mm-hmm.
But nearly every, all these big developers and all these folks have sponsored these mural festivals, in the past in our town, and we wouldn't have such a robust outdoor gallery in downtown St. Pete if they hadn't.
Right. So there is some symbiosis there. It sounds like what you're saying.
Yeah. I feel like it's, again, the impermanence of it is the nature of street art, as again,
Sure.
Leon and I have even agreed on in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the Arts Alliance being involved, again, they more or less just, pass that information along to John Vitaly. It wasn't, hey, we're going to sponsor this. None of the funding was run through the Arts Alliance. Their job is to advocate for us and what we think might be good ideas around town. I'd also
I'm happy. I'm happy to hear you say that part of it right there. That's the piece that I want to agree with you on, that they are advocating for you all. They present an opportunity, but if they leave out all the baggage that might come with this, and your involvement in co-signing or perhaps amplifying the brand that says art is the ultimate luxury on the building, that's a lot of collaboration that they leave you to carry. They leave the artist to carry this, and now we're in a situation right now where you feel the need to defend this, and I by the way, I commend you for it. I respect it. What I'm saying is, where's the Arts Alliance on defending this, when what's the reality is they know that this is a PR disaster. This is a blunder for all the reasons you mentioned about how people can look at this as gentrification, or they might question who's behind the development, the developers trying to make this this part of
Leon,
St. Pete.
I hate to cut you off, Leon, but just hold that thought. We're going to continue the conversation in a moment. Leon, aka Test 1, talking about the pink buildings in St. Petersburg. They were painted on Valentine's Day. Want to hear from you as well. Also want to dig into that notion of art as the ultimate luxury. I'm sure you both have some thoughts about that. Also with us is Derek Donnelly, a noted muralist around St. Petersburg. You can join the conversation. Give us a call, 813-755-6562. Maybe you have some thoughts about these pink buildings and what is to come where the pink buildings now stand. Maybe you love them, maybe you hate them, maybe you think it's good to have a little more murals even if something's going to be demolished. Give us a call, 813-755-6562, or email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. And stay with us. More to come in a moment.
If you want to know more about what's happening around you in 2026, subscribe to WUSF's Wake Up Call newsletter. It's your morning dose of the latest news and things to do. You can subscribe at WUSF.org.
The Raymond James Gasparilla Festival of the Arts is back. Enjoy the work of 250 artists, children's activities, and live entertainment at Tampa's Julian B. Lane Riverfront Park. February 28th and March 1st, visit GasparillaArts.org.
Have you supported WUSF for years and wish you could do more? A charitable gift annuity can help. It's a smart way to ensure WUSF's future and receive guaranteed income for life. To learn more, call Scott Nolan at 800-741-9090 or visit WUSF.org/support.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty, and we're talking with muralist Derek Donnelly and artist Leon Bador, a.k.a. Test 1, about the bright pink buildings, Pepto-Bismol, you might say, that were recently painted in downtown St. Petersburg. Maybe you've seen them. Maybe you have some thoughts about them. Those buildings aren't going to be there for long, by the way. They will be torn down to make way for a 29-story condominium development, but there will be some more painting going up on them before then. But if you think this is a good way to kind of use a space before it's taken away, share some more of that street art that St. Petersburg is so famous for, give us a call, 813-755-6562, or email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Maybe you think it is just prettying up gentrifying, prettying up gentrification, I should say. If you think about that as well, maybe that's a conversation you've been having. You can also weigh in on that too. The number again, 813-755-6562. I mean, Derek, when you were painting these buildings, did you kind of imagine your work would spark this sort of conversation? Was that something that was going through your mind, or was that a conversation that you were having with your fellow muralists?
Again, this is just another development. The talks of the gentrification and everything. These are discussions from that. We needed to have heavier 12 years ago.
Sure.
I don't. No, I mean, I think we just, wanted to, paint something fun and cool and in some way, as sad as it is, that these historic buildings, keep going and big high rises go up. I don't think anyone from the town is a fan of that. But this, I can't reiterate enough, this is a result of years of similar relationships, I feel like, in my perspective, that the Arts Alliance, Leon, other people, were a big part of. So I think getting the outrage now over this, but no, I didn't expect it to be, quite the controversial project that it is. But oftentimes, art sparks conversation. That's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's where we're at.
I just wanted to read a quote, too, from the Tampa Bay Times. The developer, Vela Real Estate CEO Moises Agami said, art is the ultimate luxury. You're going to see that in the pool, the murals, in the plaza, in the sculptures. All right, so what about that? I mean, Derek, is art a luxury? How do you see it?
I don't like that quote. I can be completely honest. I don't like the quote. No, it's not a luxury. Art should be for everyone. I can fully, I don't think anybody can argue that. A lot of times, and Leon knows as much as anyone, working with some of these developers over the years and different things, you're often, I don't want to say forced, but you're often, made to go roll with the punches as far as what some of their visions are. I personally, I don't like that slogan. I think it's counterproductive. But I mean, that's like, again, the one thing I don't like about this.
Yeah.
But
Leon,
other than that,
if I can chime in on that real quick.
for sure.
go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. The statement is painful marketing language. Also, it kind of mocks what the power of art is, especially what it means to the city of St. Pete, how we cherish it, how it represents us, our voice, our culture. So that's what makes this kind of extra offensive, is that we do have an art culture that Derek and I are from. We oftentimes live job to job. And so we get the jobs that come to us, and when they're handed to us from the Arts Alliance, we should be able to trust that they have done the vetting on this, that we are not left out on a limb to defend all these many dimensions of reasons why this might not be a good thing.
Yeah.
Also, I've been in the game a long time. Derek's been in the game a long time. Yes, new developments play a role in the city, and murals. I've never seen anything this big of a blunder. I've never seen this. This is different. And it's having our artists amplify the marketing of an out of touch project that's trying to turn this particular part of the city into Paris, which we're not Paris, we're St. Pete.
Right.
And our artists reflect that we're St. Pete.
I want to get a call in here if I could. We've got Maria on the line. Maria, you're on the air. What are you thinking?
Well, first of all, I did drive by them the other day, and I was confused by the statement, and I didn't hear everything that was just said before jumping on here. But I thought, is art the ultimate luxury? Not necessarily for artists. You know, artists struggle a lot, and yet they provide us with so much, you know, so much stuff, so much good stuff. And so it is conflicting. Yeah. However, I vote for, you know, all empty walls in the city to be painted and commissioned by artists. Wouldn't that be amazing? However, yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky for both sides, and I'm sorry for both sides that are struggling in that area, or for artists that are like, hey man, this is a great opportunity to show my art. So yeah, why not? So that's all I got. That's all I got, guys.
Maria, thank you so much for that call. I really appreciate it. If you want to join in too, you can call us 813-755-6562 or send an email, FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. Derek, what other paintings are going to go up there? So this is kind of like essentially priming the building for some murals that will go up before it's torn down. Do you have a notion of what's like? Have you got one in the works?
I mean, most of us already painted on Saturday and Sunday this past weekend. So to my knowledge, I don't know that much else is going up there. You know, there was probably almost a dozen artists out there painting. And, you know, the community was encouraged to come out, you know, all the smiling kids and, you know, tag the walls and you know, kind of have a overspray experience, which is what John Vitale, you know, that's his compound over in Gulfport that they do and provide these experiences for the community. So
what is an overspray experience?
Where they have these classes where, you know, people, you know, of all ages can come out, sign up and learn how to spray paint and learn how to, you know, learn some of the basics, you know, of graffiti, street art, murals, what have you. And I don't know, just have fun. You know, it's a great date night for people, or, you know, something to do with the kids. So that, again, John Vitale and the crew do an amazing job engaging with the community, providing those kinds of cultural experience for everyone.
We've only got about 30 seconds left here, but Leon, I'm going to give you the last word. I mean, obviously the story doesn't end here. There will be other buildings to paint. Like, if this is a misstep, what do you want to see in the future?
I want to see the Arts Alliance learn from this and do better, in the sense of having advisors that, and we have plenty. We have plenty in the city. There are plenty of people. For example, with Shine, when I was involved, this type of thing was something that we deflected every year that I was involved, and I know it happened years after I was involved. And it's that we need to be very careful, especially with the growth the specialness of our relationship in the city with public art, that we don't send our talent to co-sign something like this or be tied to gentrification. We have to have a little bit more responsibility, a little more foresight into the opportunities that we're presenting our artists. But again, this is not at all at the fault of the artists involved. I understand the hustle and I get it. It's more at a higher level. When
Right.
it's a city project, we need to do better.
We're going to have to leave it there, but Leon Bador, aka Test One, and muralist Derek Donnelly, thank you so much both for your insights. Really appreciate it. And stay with us. We're going to be talking about a cold case that was identified, a victim who was identified 46 years after their killing. That's when Florida Matters Live and Local returns in a moment.
On the next Florida Roundup, we'll be in front of a live studio audience in Orlando at Central Florida Public Media. The superintendent of Orange County Schools will be with us talking about falling student enrollment and maybe closing schools. Plus, this is one of the most important years and decades for Florida's space industry. And then Orlando, it's more than just mouse ears and movie roller coasters, right? Wherever you are in Florida, what's your Orlando story? Email us radio@thefloridaroundup.org. I'm Tom Hudson. Then join us Friday noon until 1.
Support for WUSF comes from listeners like you and from Badawi Law, offering legal services in personal injury, immigration, and auto accidents with offices in Tampa, Florida. Office information and practice details at badawilaw.com or learn more on Instagram at Badawi Law.
Are you all about the arts and in Tampa Bay? Check out Arts Axis, AXISFlorida.org. We help the community find artists like you.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. A couple of weeks ago, St. Petersburg police announced they'd identified a cold case homicide victim after 46 years. Johnny Bradshaw from Tennessee was 29 years old when he was killed. Police say he and another man, Jack Roy Davis, were shot in the head at a St. Pete motel in April 1980. Davis was identified at the time of the murders. One of the two suspects, David Ann Thomas, was eventually arrested and served time in prison, but Bradshaw's identity did remain a mystery for many years until 2023 when a forensic lab in Texas, Othram Labs, was able to extract a DNA sample. St. Pete Police cold case detective Michael Pawelski spent the next couple of years figuring out who Bradshaw was, and he was finally able to contact his family members. Here's Detective Pawelski talking with Fox 13 Tampa Bay.
My biggest thing is getting closure for the families, and then, putting the victims, with the families where they're supposed to be and getting them buried properly. Giving everybody a sense of closure.
Well, a group based in Las Vegas helps fund forensic research at Othram Labs. It's called Project Justice, and its founder is Justin Wu, and he joins us now. Thank you so much for being with us, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
So if you've got questions too about what goes into cold case forensic research, or maybe there's a cold case that you've been thinking about for a bit and wondering how that could possibly get solved, give us a call, 813-755-6562. That's 813-755-6562. You can also email FloridaMatters@WUSF.org. So, Justin, your cold case project is called Project Justice. You also have an organization called the Vegas Justice League, which I've got to tell you sounds a little bit like a superhero movie. Tell me about that.
So the Vegas Justice League started in 2020. We were working with Las Vegas Metro PD on helping them solve cases, and so far we've helped them to solve 9 homicides. Then we got the kind of demand around the United States to help with different identifications of Jane and John Does, and that's where Project Justice was founded.
So tell me a little more. So the Vegas Justice League, like it's you, it's a bunch of other people. Who are you? How does this whole project work?
So the Vegas Justice League, it started with me. In 2020, I funded one case, which ended up being the Stephanie Isaacson case. It was a very famous case in the area. It broke world records in terms of being able to solve a cold case with the smallest amount of DNA. I think it was 15 nanograms, which is, if you do like a DNA test from 23andMe, I think the amount of DNA that you get on a swab of that is like 750 or more nanograms. So it's quite a big difference. And then I said this is a great thing that could be done. I went and got some friends and some other local business leaders to join what I call the league. We got up to like about 6 people. They all helped to fund cold cases. The cold cases are done kind of as a collective, so like the group kind of takes the credit for any of the solves, and if there are any that kind of don't have a resolution, it's easier that way than assigning a person a specific case. And then, we've been fundraising. We've raised over, almost $2 million now. A lot of that has gone to like hundreds of cases around the United States. So far, we have about 54, I believe, cold case solves all around the U.S.
So why cold cases? So this happened in 2020. Did the pandemic have something to do with it? Was it like a kind of a reset moment for you and you're thinking, okay, what am I doing with my life? Like, how did this come about?
No, we were just looking in Southern Nevada of how we could help out people. So we have a charity called Vegas Helps. That's local to helping people in Southern Nevada. Everything from food scarcity. We look for people that maybe even have like a apartment will burn down. We'll go in and get them some things to kind of get started again. This thing just kind of randomly happened. I saw it on Facebook. What Othram was doing with the DNA, and I said this is something that could help law enforcement, and we just kind of went for it, and it became a really big thing. And so we've been very supportive of it because it's, really getting to meet the parents of the victims and brothers and stuff. They've gone so long in their life without having these answers. And, we're just happy to be able to help law enforcement, bring these families the answers that they've been looking for after all these years.
Mm-hmm. Tell me a little more about the Stephanie Isaacson case, because this is the Las Vegas case. I mean, people in the Florida area may not be so familiar with it. So what was it? Why was that the first case you settled on, and how did that get solved?
It was just a random case that Las Vegas Metro had. I think that this was the last chance that they were going to get with the DNA to solve this. Every time that they do some DNA testing, the evidence that's available is degraded or used up in the process of doing the DNA. So this was probably the last shot that the Isaacson family was going to have of getting any kind of justice or answers there.
Mm-hmm.
So we took that. Othram did an amazing job. They found the murderer there, who had murdered other people. So a lot of these cases has the potential, and we're hoping in the future to even take serial killers off the street if we can identify some of these newer cases where the people are still alive. Unfortunately, at that time, Johnny Peterson had already died. But
this is the perpetrator in the Stephanie Isaacson case?
Yeah, the Stephanie Isaacson case. And Las Vegas was a very different town in that, point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that we had like a couple of different high schools. Now we have way many, and the city has grown.
Yeah.
But this was something that was all over the news and all over the papers.
And sorry to interrupt, but just to kind of get people caught up. So this, and I'm just reading here. This is sort of back in 1989. So quite some time ago, and it was a 14-year-old schoolgirl in Las Vegas. And as you say, Vegas was a very different place back then.
Yeah, she was walking home from high school, and she went to like the Dairy Queen, I believe, and then she disappeared. And it was kind of like breaking news all over the news channels. It kind of shocked the whole town because it wasn't something that was very common in the small town. Mm-hmm. And then that case, went dark for 30 years, and then they just kind of rebrought it up, going through these cold cases, and Othram was able to get the leads for the detectives on that, and then they ended up solving that. And
mm-hmm.
I got to meet the family. It was touching to meet them, and they said that they'd cried every day for the last 30 years not having the answers.
Did you know then that this was kind of the project was going to develop into this? It was just like sort of, we'll see how this goes and maybe develop it out if it's a success?
Yeah, I had no idea. Originally, what I had seen Othram was doing is they have a kind of a crowdfunding platform called DNA Solves, and they get people to do little donations. I think it's about $10 to whatever amount that you want to do. And they were at that time going for like a $5,000 goal to get to the point to be able to do one of these cases. So I went to them and I said, hey, I will sponsor an entire case for you if you put it in the Las Vegas, or you can get one in the Las Vegas area. Mm-hmm. Then they reached out to Metro. They got that Stephanie Isaacson case. And then after that, just seeing that, what could be done with that, we kind of made one part of our charity the mission to specifically kind of help with these, and then it ended up getting into like the nationwide identification of Jane and John Does, which has just been, it seems like that there's a case solve, every couple weeks now. We have like hundreds of cases working with Authorham and other places now.
Yeah, and this is a little different from that very first case where you were trying to identify the perpetrator. In this case, in the case we mentioned in St. Petersburg, it's an unidentified victim. So imagine like somebody missing for 46 years. That's going to be a powerful moment, learning that, okay, we actually have some answers here, even if it's a terrible fate that befell them.
Yeah, so we've been doing that for the adults, and we actually have a couple programs where we're trying to identify children, and that's been really big because it's called Project 525, going out there and looking for cases where the remains are children and identifying those. Some of those even lead to the opening up murder investigations and whatnot. So,
if you're just joining us on Florida Matters Live and Local, we're talking with Justin Wu. He's the founder of Project Justice, helps fund forensic research at Authorham Labs to identify cold case victims and track down other, resolve other cases where they're looking at DNA samples. So, Justin, how much does it cost to fund one of these cases, like the kind of research that led to the identification of this case, Johnny Bradshaw, and that 46-year-old mystery in St. Petersburg? What kind of money does that take?
I think that the case, when we started, it was $5,000. I think some of the costs have gone up. I think it's around $7,500. I think that they may, even at that number, be doing that at somewhat of a loss. It just depends on the amount of time that they have to do, because besides sequencing the DNA, they have to do a lot of genealogical research. So it would be building, a family tree and identifying, where to get those leads for law enforcement to kind of go. And then after that, there's even follow-up. So they'll get back what are called buccal swabs from people. So they'll go and identify somebody and they'll say like, hey, go get a buccal swab from them. That will kind of open up the doors to say like, okay, now you're looking kind of in the right direction. You need to go and look for, the brothers or something like that. So all law enforcement tactics of how they do their investigation.
We've got a call coming in from Kathy. Kathy, you're on the air.
Hi, Justin. I think it's really fantastic what you do. I'm a crime junkie. I watch all the shows, Dateline, and everything you can think of. And I think it's amazing what you're doing. Families never find closure, but at least you're giving them answers. If we want to help, like, how can I support you? I'm looking for some way to donate some money somewhere. Is this a way I can do it?
So yeah, if you go to projectjustice.com, we have a mechanism where you can donate as little as $10. And as we get up enough to do another case, we'll put it towards a case. And 100% of anything that's donated goes towards the solving of cases. I cover all the credit card fees and any kind of like operational costs of the charity. That's, one of the things that I wanted to do as an entrepreneur. When I got to the point of being able to have a charity, I wanted to have something that had no operational costs, so that there's no, fees and people working for things that, are taking away from like the donations that we get.
Kathy, thanks for that call. And Justin, thanks for that information. So how closely are you working with police? Like, I'm wondering, I imagine as the publicity builds, you'll have people reaching out to you, but are police departments, sheriff's offices reaching out to you as well? How does that work?
We do around the country. They more work with Authorham. So Authorham has relationships and has been solving many cases all around the country and works with different law enforcement from FBI to like local sheriff's offices in different places. We have a very close relationship with like our local law enforcement, Las Vegas Metro PD, North Las Vegas PD, and Henderson PD, which is in the area that we like live in. So we work more closely with them on the cases. The other ones that are around the country, Authorham is more of the conduit of that, and they'll come to us and ask us to help with the funding when they have requests from law enforcement. We don't get into the picking of any of the cases. Sometimes people will give us, a case that they would love us to go. We can pass it on to law enforcement, but we don't have the ability to basically pick it, because there's a lot of things. Sometimes we have to figure out if there's even DNA that is accessible to even use in
Right.
these matters. Sometimes there's not.
So you're basically just working on the funding side of things, I guess, unless you have a little more sort of knowledge of what's going on with a case in your particular area in the Vegas area.
Yeah, I mean, we do work a little bit more closely with Metro in terms of, we do the DNA and other things that help to fight crime here in the local area. But yeah, we don't pick the cases and we don't get into the active investigation. So it's a surprise for us. Oftentimes law enforcement, especially in Las Vegas Metro, will come and say, hey, we have a big, press conference coming up. Can you guys attend? We'll show up, and then that's where we get all the information of the whole case and all of the details of what happened. So it's always a surprise for us. The perpetrator, whatever the victims are, the details of the case. That's a surprise when we hear.
In the last 30 seconds or so here, I wonder if people have been reaching out to your organization about the Nancy Guthrie case, since that's been in the headlines a lot.
Othram has actually worked, talked about getting to be able to help them on it. They're like one of the leading forensic labs in the country. And a lot of these things, they can be very helpful to law enforcement in some of these cases, being able to give them those leads, in a super timely manner to help these investigations kind of progress forward. So a lot of, law enforcement is not aware of that or hasn't turned to Othram yet to be able to, ask them for help. And it's a resource that people should really investigate.
Well, Justin, we've got to leave the conversation there, but thank you so much for your insights. He's the
Thank you for having me.
Las Vegas-based founder of Project Justice. They fund forensic testing, which can help solve cold cases like identifying homicide victim Johnny Bradshaw. Thank you so much.
I'm Scott Tong. An artificial intelligence report sent shocks and chills into Wall Street this week. It plots a doomy scenario for white-collar jobs replaced by AI. One Nobel economist thinks it's all part of the AI hype cycle. MIT's Daron Acemoglu, next time here and now.
Join us tomorrow afternoon from 1 to 3 on WUSF 89.7.
You tune in to WUSF for all your favorite NPR shows. And for a list of when you can hear them, visit WUSF.org. While you're there, browse local features and special reports from the WUSF newsroom that take a deep dive into the issues that affect you, your family, and your neighbors here in the greater Tampa Bay region. WUSF is your spot for local, on air and online.
Gulfside Healthcare Services has provided expert, compassionate care in hospice, palliative, and home health for over 35 years. Now serving Pinellas hospice patients. Call 800-561-4883 for information or visit gulfside.org.
Thank you for listening to WUSF 89.7. We are your spot for award-winning local news and podcasts.
Welcome back to Florida Matters Live and Local. I'm Matthew Petty. If you're anywhere near Southeast Bayshore Drive in St. Pete this weekend, you're going to hear a lot of this. That's right, the city is gearing up for the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg. IndyCar fans descend on the city for 3 days to watch drivers tear around the course along St. Pete's waterfront. Among the drivers, 17-year-old Nikita Johnson. He's a native of St. Pete, and as a kid, his parents had him in a NASCAR-themed car seat, and the rest is history. On his way to compete at the Grand Prix, Nikita made a pit stop at Florida Matters Live and Local. Nikita, thank you so much for being with us.
Yes, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure.
So this weekend, you're in the Indy Next series. It's a step to the Indianapolis 500. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, I'm feeling great. I mean, it's a huge series. I mean, there's so much talent in this Indy Next category. So It's very good. Plus, we get to go with IndyCar to most of the races, so all the IndyCar teams get to see what we're all about, and we're hopefully the next drivers in IndyCar. So it's just amazing to be in Indy next.
Did you watch the Grand Prix here in St. Pete growing up as a kid?
Yes, all the time. Sometimes in person, and then most of the time on TV if I couldn't go. But I probably went about 3 or 4 times in person before I did my first race here in 2023.
Okay, so what's it like on that sort of street course? Like, how does it feel driving around those streets in one of these cars compared to just as a regular commuter?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit difficult with the walls, like any other street course. Usually on a regular road course, we have a lot of runoff, so there's no consequences if you make a mistake. You can easily go off. But with street courses, we have, the walls that are very tight, so you're running up, a few inches off those walls, sometimes skimming them. And then with all the crests in the road, it's very difficult. We have big crests in the middle of the road and at some parts of the racetrack for the rainwater drainage. So the entries are off camber, and then once you get past the middle of the track and you get close to the apex, it's on camber and pulls the car into the apex. So having a car that's able to kind of be in the sweet spot for the whole track is a little bit difficult because there's so many different parts of the course that you just have to be ready for. But other than that, it's an amazing track.
So you just kind of help me understand that. So you're saying that because it's a city road, it's got a different shape to it than a regular, motorway track?
Exactly. Usually on a regular road course, they're pretty flat. I mean, you'll have bumps there, but it's not really going off camber or on camber. But here, with being a regular road, you need to have a crest in the middle of the road, like a crown. And so that changes how the car works from entry, middle, and exit. And that's how we break up the corners in 3 parts. So it just gives it a little bit more taste, And some other street course tracks have this, but not all of them. So it's pretty cool.
And so normally, when you're driving, say you're driving to work, you're not going to notice that because you're driving at a normal speed. But how fast are you going in one of these cars on this road, on this course?
I mean, I think our top speed is about like 155 in a turn 1, right around there. And then through the streets, through like maybe 2-3, then going into 4, we're doing, I think, like 120 through 2-3. And then in the back section, we're doing about 80 mile per hour, 60 mile per hour. It just depends on where we're at. But I mean, we fly through the streets. You can notice it in the road car if you're not going fast enough and, you're pulling one way or the other instead of driving straight. Then that's most likely because the road is off camber and trying to pull you off the road and go to the outside to the the downward side, not the upward, pulling you down the road. And then that's why you counter steer and turn the other way to pull you back up. So sometimes you can notice it just in your regular car.
Okay, so let's rewind the clock a little bit. It seems like just a few years ago you were go-karting at the Anderson Race Park in Palmetto. Back then, could you imagine doing what you're doing now, living the life you're living now as a race car driver?
To be honest, not at all. I mean, at that point, when I first started, it was a little bit like a hobby. And I was trying a lot of different sports. And I was already taking skating lessons and playing soccer or football, actually, and, in the summer and stuff like that. And it was probably until I was like 7 or 8 where I was like, well, this is something I want to pursue. And that's kind of when I stopped playing other sports and went full time and really focused on racing and doing more practices and driving more. But I would have never thought I'd make it this far because it's, when you're looking at that, it's so far fetched from that series that I was in from a little kid. It's crazy to think about how far I've come in my whole racing career.
And you're named after Nikita Alexiev, and I guess for Lightning fans, you may remember this name. He's the Lightning's 2000 first-round pick. Spent a couple of seasons in Tampa Bay. So your parents, obviously big hockey fans. Was hockey one of the sports that you were interested in growing up?
Yeah, we love hockey as a family, but that was probably, I guess you could say, the main sport that I was interested when I was growing up. And that was my first, I guess, sport you could say was playing. I was still a little bit too young to actually play hockey, but I was, taking skating lessons for 2-3 years and just kind of getting familiar sometimes with a stick because one of our friends played hockey. So I was just kind of slowly getting into it, trying to do it at a young age, and then got put into a go-kart and fell in love. Still love hockey to this day.
How old were you when you first sat in a go-kart, drove it?
Like 5.5,
Wow.
I believe. And then I started racing, I'm pretty sure at like 6. So it took me a little while to do a few practices, make sure this is what I wanted. And then I went and did my first race and won. And then after that, I was completely hooked.
You got the bug, yeah. So what do you do to unwind? Like when you're not racing, what's your go-to sport or recreational activity to kind of kick back?
I like tennis, but a lot of my friends don't play tennis. They play pickleball, so I'm kind of forced to play pickleball. I still really like it and enjoy it. I'm starting to get into golf. It's really difficult, though. I mean, I'm trying to get into it and get better, but it's hard. And then, yeah, I mean, I like to just go to the gym, go on runs. I cycle more than pretty much anything else I do. And then I like to go fish in my off time. Some people do, some people don't, but I like going out there and, not having to be on the phone or any electronics, taking time to unwind, and then hopefully you can have a good catch and then eat it for dinner. And then I also do a lot of sim racing to prepare for my weekends when we're a week out.
I mean, fishing and motor racing seem kind of miles apart in terms of, I guess, your focus while you're doing it. Does that ever strike you as a little strange that you're kind of, because your brain must be doing totally different things while you're fishing compared to when you're racing? Or are there some similarities that I just don't know about?
I mean, I guess sometimes there can be some similarities, but it's pretty much like almost a complete opposite. So it's pretty funny that, I love it as much as racing because, one is kind of high stress, high stakes, high adrenaline, and, everything's on the line. And then fishing's just like, I'm going to go out with my friends, have some fun, relax, have a chill day, hopefully get some fish that are good. And I guess the only thing that you could, that's in common between the two is when you hook a fish, I mean, there's like a burst of adrenaline, because you're waiting around. And then as soon as the fish starts to pick up the bait, you're like, oh, I have something there. And then as soon as you hook set and get whatever you're fishing for, there's a kind of quick burst of adrenaline, I guess you could say, and I guess happiness, and I'm not too sure, just emotions for, when you're fighting. And I guess you could say that's the only kind of thing between them. But other than that, they're complete opposites, in my opinion.
Back in 2019, you were 10 years old and St. Pete City Council presented you with a helmet for racing. Can you tell us more about that moment? Was that like the moment you thought, okay, this could be a career for me?
Yeah, at that point, I mean, it was still pretty surreal. I was, obviously pursuing it to be a career, and I was working hard, but you never know in this sport what's going to happen. But at that point, I knew, it was pretty cool to be accepted and be the ambassador to the St. Pete race. And I think we had a pretty good idea that, it could be possible to race in it. But I didn't think, it happened 4 years later to be my first race. And then obviously now we're in NXT. So yeah, I think at that point I thought a little bit. I thought, maybe it could happen, maybe it will. But yeah, it's just crazy how everything's gone.
Are you expecting some of your hometown friends and loved ones to be cheering you on this weekend?
Yes, for sure. Almost every year, all my friends have come out. All my family friends and family has come out. So it's usually pretty packed. But it's pretty good because all my friends now know what to do when they come out. So it's not like I have to show them around. I can just go focus on what I need to do and about the race. And they can come out and support without, needing attention from me. So it's pretty good to, have everybody kind of involved and used to it, and they know what the plan is.
Yeah.
So it's pretty nice.
When you're not driving IndyCar, what do you like to drive?
Well, I'm racing in IMSA, the GTD Pro number 59 car for Rahal Lanigan Letterman. It's the McLaren 720S. So when I'm not driving the NXT, I'm racing full-time the Endurance Championship and Sprint Championship for RLL McLaren. And then I also do all their testing with the other drivers, so all the development testing. So I'm pretty packed. But if it's off track, then I drive a truck because I'm usually I don't know, doing something with my friends and we have to haul a lot of stuff or just have to do some work. So if it's off track, the truck. And then if it's still on track, it's the IMSA GTD Pro McLaren.
Well, Nikita Johnson, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing a little bit about the upcoming race. Really appreciate it.
Yes, no problem. Thank you guys very much.
All right, and good luck for this weekend.
Thank you.
And if you want to know more about the Grand Prix, we've got a guide including a schedule and ticket information. It's at WUSF.org. That's our show for today. We will be back next Monday. We'll check in with WUSF's Douglas Soul in Tallahassee. You can reach out with questions and comments. Let us know what you want to hear on Florida Matters Live and Local. Call 813-755-6562. Leave a message or email floridamatters@WUSF.org. Our executive producer is Grayson Doctor. Our producers are Emily Horace and Quincy Walters. Our engineers are Jackson Harp and Geo Garvin. Jackson composed the theme music. Chandler Balcom handled the video today. Subscribe to Florida Matters wherever you get your podcasts. You can also watch on WUSF's YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Petty. Thanks for listening and watching. Have a great weekend.
Less than 1% of Brazil's population is indigenous, which makes it hard to wield influence. That's why an art collective is using its international platform to advocate for that community back home.
My voice is not only to speak about my culture, but it's a form of protest because